Max Verstappen's chances of winning the 2025 Formula One Championship have effectively ended after the Brazilian Grand Prix, where a controversial late-race pit stop cost him a potential victory and left him 49 points behind championship leader Lando Norris with just 3 races remaining. After starting from the pit lane due to a power unit change, Verstappen drove an impressive recovery race to take the lead by lap 55. But Red Bull's decision to pit him for fresh tyres with 16 laps to go dropped him back to 4th place. And although he fought back to finish third, the result means the title is now realistically out of reach. The weekend in Brazil started poorly for Verstappen after a difficult sprint race on Saturday morning prompted Red Bull to make significant setup changes to his car before qualifying. Team principal Laurent Mekies explained the reasoning behind the decision, saying, "We were not happy with where we were after the sprint, so we decided to make a number of changes. It is part of the risk-taking we felt was necessary to see if we could get more out of the car." However, the changes did not produce the desired effect and instead made the car more difficult to drive, leaving Verstappen with very little grip and a car that was sliding through the corners. Verstappen qualified in 16th place after being eliminated in Q1, while his teammate Yuki Tsunoda qualified 19th, marking Red Bull's first double Q1 exit since the 2006 Japanese Grand Prix. When asked about the qualifying session, Verstappen described the experience as frustrating, saying, "It was just bad. I couldn't push at all. The car was all over the place, sliding around a lot, so yeah, I had to underdrive it a lot just to not have a moment, and that of course doesn't work in qualifying." He added that the whole weekend had been challenging, but the qualifying result was particularly unexpected given the amount of changes they had made to the car. Following the disappointing qualifying session, Verstappen was asked about his championship prospects, and his response was blunt. When asked if he could still win the title, he said, "I can forget about that." The reporter asked him to confirm if he really meant it, and Verstappen replied, "Okay, yes, for sure. Where we are starting, that is not going to work, and with these kind of performances, forget about it." It was a rare admission of defeat from the 4-time world champion who has built his reputation on never giving up, but he was being realistic about the situation, given that he would be starting well down the grid while Norris was on pole position. Red Bull then made the decision to change Verstappen's power unit, which meant he would have to start the race from the pit lane rather than from his 16th place grid position. This seemed to make his task even more difficult. But when the race started on Sunday, Verstappen quickly demonstrated why he is considered one of the best drivers in Formula One by carving through the field in the opening laps and making his way up to 13th place within just a few racing laps. The race was then interrupted by a safety car period after Oscar Piastri made contact with Kimi Antonelli and Charles Leclerc. At turn 1 following a restart, Verstappen had picked up a puncture during the incident and was forced to pit under the virtual safety car, which dropped him back to the rear of the field, but he emerged with fresh medium tyres and continued his charge through the pack. What followed was one of the most impressive drives of the season, as Verstappen overtook car after car while setting consistently fast lap times and making up ground on the leaders. By lap 55 of the 71-lap race, Verstappen had worked his way through the entire field and found himself in the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix. It appeared to be shaping up as one of the great Formula One comeback drives, similar to his victory at the same circuit last year when he won from 17th on the grid in wet conditions. The McLarens ahead of him were committed to 2-stop strategies and would need to pit again, while the Mercedes drivers were managing their tyre wear and Verstappen seemed to be in control of the race. However, with 16 laps remaining, Red Bull made the call to bring Verstappen into the pits for a fresh set of soft tyres. The decision dropped him from 1st place to 4th, behind Norris, Antonelli and George Russell, and immediately raised questions about whether it was the right strategy call. Verstappen emerged from the pits and quickly began pushing to make up the lost ground. Passing Russell on lap 63, with a decisive move around the outside into turn 1 to move up to third place. At that point, Verstappen had a 14-second gap to close to Antelli in second place. And with fresh, soft tyres, he began eating into that deficit at a rate of 1 to 2 seconds per lap. For a few laps, it looked like he might be able to catch and pass the Mercedes driver. But as the soft tyres began to lose their performance advantage, Verstappen's pace dropped off and he was unable to make further progress. He ultimately finished in third place, with Norris winning the race and Antonelli taking second. After the race, the pit stop decision became the main topic of discussion in the Formula One paddock. Laurent Mex defended the strategy call, but acknowledged that it had been a difficult weekend for the team. He said it didn't work, and if anything, it went in the opposite direction, and clearly we lost a lot of competitiveness. It is painful and difficult to accept, but it is what happens when you take risks sometimes. And the best we can do is to learn from it and see where we can improve the car from here. The team principal's comments suggested that Red Bull felt the pit stop was necessary to protect against the threat from the cars behind. But the decision ultimately cost Verstappen a chance at victory. The result leaves Verstappen 49 points behind Norris in the championship standings, with 3 races remaining in Las Vegas, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi. While there are still 83 points available over those final 3 rounds, the mathematics of the situation make it extremely difficult for Verstappen to close the gap. Even if he were to win all 3 remaining races, Norris would only need to finish in the top positions to secure the championship, meaning that barring a major incident or mechanical failure for the McLaren driver, the title fight is effectively over. For Verstappen, the Brazilian Grand Prix will be remembered as a race of what might have been, as his driving performance was exceptional, but the strategic decision took away his opportunity to win. He demonstrated his skill and determination by recovering from a pit lane start to lead the race, showing why he has won 4 world championships. But the pit stop call meant that his efforts were not rewarded with the victory he deserved. The focus for Verstappen and Red Bull now shifts to the final 3 races of the season, where they will aim to win as many races as possible and secure second place in the Drivers' Championship. Yuki Tsunoda also had a difficult weekend in Brazil, finishing the race in 17th place after struggling with tyre grip throughout the event. He explained that the team was unable to get the tyres working properly, and that they needed to understand why they had been so uncompetitive at this particular circuit. The double Q1 exit and disappointing race results for both Red Bull drivers highlighted the challenges the team has faced this season in trying to keep pace with McLaren's development. The championship standings now show Norris with a commanding 49-point lead over Verstappen, and with only 3 races remaining, the title appears to be heading to McLaren. For Formula One fans, the Brazilian Grand Prix will be remembered as the race where Verstappen's championship hopes came to an end, despite one of his most impressive comeback drives of the season.